Hello there. Good to see you again. I missed you. What have you been up to? I've been here the entire time. I never left. I'm just waiting for you to come back again to see me. Well, yeah, I haven't been here the entire time. But at any rate, it's good to see you today. I'm Laura Williamson. This is Bear Fitness. And again, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host. I'm a personal trainer, a Pilates instructor, and health coach extraordinaire. And today's topic is food. What is your relationship with food? Okay, we're going to get into it today. We won't get into it too deep, but today is more about you thinking about what that relationship is with food, because we all have one. But before we get into it, I also want to remind you that I usually do a workout after these little conversations that we have together. So before you do anything with me, before you take any of the advice or do any of the information that might come about in this particular programming, please get permission from your doctor. It's important that you are safe and you know what is okay and what isn't okay. All right, so check with that doctor first and make sure you're good to go. All right, now let's jump in. All right, now tell me something, or think about this. What is your relationship with food? We all have food history or history with food. We need food. We eat food every day, at least most of us do. And we have meals quite often, and we usually eat for various reasons. So let's think about this. And when I say food history and why is food history important, what I mean is our experiences with food, it varies, right? Think about this. And it almost seems like there are so many reasons why we eat or need to eat. For example, it might be the holidays, which we know there's always a holiday. There's always something coming, going. And have you noticed that a lot of the holidays that we experience, usually there's food involved in some way, shape, or form. And during the holidays, we might get together with family. It might be for a work event. There might be dinners. There might be lunch. There might be drinks. There might be drinking. I mean, again, food history, food experiences. And there are special events. There are weddings. There are graduations. Again, even for funerals, there's usually food in some way, shape, or form. And think about it. Think about your childhood. Like what food meant to you then. Like if you think about certain foods that you ate when you were a kid, do you have positive memories about those experiences, or do you have negative memories? Like, for example, did you fall, skin your knee, and maybe your mom or your dad or your grandmother gave you a cookie or maybe an ice cream cone to stop your tears and to help you feel better, or to take your mind off of the pain that you were experiencing? I mean, that's a big deal. Oh, and what about bribery? Bribery is another one. What if you were given that cookie, that cake, that donut, or whatever your favorite food was at the time, so that the other person would get something back in exchange from you? So many reasons. And think about in business and dating, right? Maybe we have business meetings and we have drinks. We go out, let's get together for coffee. Let's get together for dinner or lunch so we can discuss a particular matter or a particular issue, right? Or when you're trying to get to know someone, again, dating, you might go out again for lunch, for dinner, again, coffee, tea, drinks, whatever the case may be, or just hanging out with your friends. You know, you go to a game. What happens there? There's food. Again, there's drinks. And then maybe culturally, maybe food is another way that you interact with each other. And for a lot of people, food is love. You know, food brings about community and a closeness. And there's just so many reasons to have food. Oh, and I almost forget one of the biggest ones, self-medication. Maybe we eat because we're in pain, we're stressed, we're tired. Another big one, boredom. Maybe you're bored, you need something to do, so you go and you grab the bag of chips and you go and get those cookies and you sit down and you just start eating. And then it's mindless eating. You're eating out of the bag, you're eating out of the box, and whatever the case may be. And just throwing out a possibility here to help you out with that, if this is something you're trying to minimize in some way, shape, or form. Maybe don't pull out the bag of the box. Maybe just get yourself a bowl and put a little bit in a bowl and put the bag away and eat it that way. Just a suggestion as we're going through this a little bit. And I just want you to get thinking, especially where if you're trying to reach certain goals for yourself. And I don't assume that just because you're trying to change eating habits that you're trying to lose weight, because that is a goal. It's an important one. But maybe it's something like you're trying to manage your fat intake. You're trying to manage your sugar intake. Maybe you're diabetic. Maybe, there could be so many reasons. Maybe you have a competition coming up and you have to eat for that. So maybe you have to eat a little more. You got to eat a little differently. You got to take in more carbs, less protein. Maybe you need to take in a little more fat, and you didn't have to be very, very particular about and specific about what you eat, when you eat, and how you eat. And that's very, very complex. I realize most of us don't need to be that specific with how we eat. However, it's just an example, something to think about. And as I'm going through this, does any of this sound familiar to you? Does this sound like you? Because I have my own relationship with food, and I give you even an example when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to stay with my grandparents and love staying with them. My grandparents used to spoil us, and there was a lot of grandkids, by the way. They used to spoil us in the summertime. And if you can imagine that, one of the favorite things I used to eat, I don't eat now, but one of my favorite things was cornflakes and vanilla ice cream. So that was my breakfast cereal in the morning. I'm sure if my mother heard me talking about this, she'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe you talked about that. But yeah, our grandparents, they spoiled us. So whatever we wanted to eat, they let us eat it. And it was fantastic. And I can go on. And I can also talk about the trips to the bakery, the Hostess Bakery at the time. We used to go and get little mini donuts. And again, this was all when I was a kid. So those are fond memories for me. However, I don't eat cornflakes now. I don't care for them, to be honest with you. I very rarely eat donuts. I do eat them every once in a while, but it's a special treat when I do have it. But these are the kind of examples, again, I'd like you to think about when you think about your relationship with food. And as we get older, we carry some of that with us into adulthood. So you want to be able to recognize when these things are going on, and how you're managing and how you're treating the food, and when you're eating and why you're eating. And it's important. And another reason why it's important is also because your relationship with food is very personal. We all have different reasons why we eat. And again, we need to be cognizant of why, how, and in doing that, it's going to help you get to your goals a lot easier. And sometimes it's hard to kind of face the truth and face the fact, because we're all individual and we all have different reasons for why we do what we do, including eating. Now, let's also think about this. If you're in a competition, you eat a certain way. And I mean figure competition. It could be rowing. It could be anything. But maybe your competition is life. That's competition enough, right? So where do you start? How do you start tracking all of this? Well, let's think about it. Accountability is important when it comes to reaching your goals, or a sense of accountability. And strategizing. You need a strategy. You need to figure that stuff out. But what if you say to yourself, I don't know where to begin. I don't know how to start. Well, let's see if we can give you an idea too of where and how to start. What if you were able to track what you were doing? Because you see, what happens is poor planning is actually going to decrease the likelihood of your success, right? And that's not just about eating food. That probably carries over into a lot of aspects, doesn't it? But we're not getting into life and overall. We're just talking about food right now. So if you can plan there's a stronger likelihood that you'll be successful if you can plan. Does that make sense? If you can plan and get a strategy together, it's probably going to increase your odds, of being successful. Now, what are some things that you can use to help you get there? And I started touching on it a little bit earlier. Well, there are a few different methods. And at the end of the day, I want you to also keep in mind that doing this is going to be trial and error, because you are going to mess up. You're going to make a mistake, and that's okay. Because it's new. It's a new way of doing things. It's outside of your routine. It's outside of your norm. So don't be afraid to make a mistake. You're human. We all are. Go for it. Make as many mistakes as you can, But it isn't that you make the mistake, is that you keep moving and you pick yourself up even though you messed up. Mess up. Go ahead. I want you to, Because if you could do it perfectly, wouldn't everyone be doing it? It doesn't work that way. And that's okay. We're human, we're complicated, we're messy, and so what? Who cares? Do you. In your way, in your best way. We just got to figure out what's good in your way, right? So it's all going to be trial and error, and it takes time to figure it out. But you got to have the patience to get through it. All right? So here's a couple of things you start with. Now that I can say it specifically. Let's start with pen and paper. Old fashioned, old school. Let's get a journal. Let's write it down. I know. Oh, but I don't want to talk about my feelings. Is she really going to talk about feelings right now? Yes. Talk about your feelings. Write them down. All right? Pen, paper. Remember that? Besides just using your phone. That's what we used to do back in the day before cell phones existed and we could type everything out. That's no fun. Get the pen and pad out. Go for it. Start writing stuff out. Now, if you're looking at me like, oh, shut up. I'm not pulling out a piece of paper and a pen. Where am I going to keep all that stuff? Okay, so then use your computer. Type it on your computer. Use your phone. But keep track of yourself. Remember, we said accountability and strategy? Write all your stuff down. Write down what you're eating. Write down how you're eating. It's important. Try to notice when you are eating. How often, when, where? What are your triggers? What are your habits? What are the events that cause you to veer away from your intended goal? Again, I'm not just talking about losing weight here. If you have a goal, like, I'm working on my blood pressure, my cholesterol, my sugar, and okay, I'm coming back to it. Yeah, maybe you're losing weight, or maybe you're even, believe it or not, you're trying to gain weight. How are you going to get there? Keep track. You need to track what you're doing sometimes. It's going to help you know where you are and realize what doesn't work so that you can correct, learn from it, and move on to the next thing, right? So think about the 5 W's here are very, very, very important. And so I'm going to throw in something a little bit funny today. So every once in a while, I think about foods that are fun to eat. And I also say to people sometimes, when you're eating food and you go shopping, try to choose foods that you wouldn't normally eat or buy. You don't have to buy a whole bunch of new stuff because you might not like all of it, but maybe try one new thing here and there. And we'll do this on another day. Maybe we'll do a label reading show. But for example, I don't eat these very often, but I used to eat them when I was a kid. Have you ever tried a pomegranate? That's an example of something you can do, something you can try, and, just challenge yourself. There's comfort in doing the same thing over and over again, but you want to challenge your brain, and I know it's a little scary, but that's why I say do one little thing at a time, So let's go back to those 5 W's. The what? What's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? When? When are you going to do all this? When's the magic going to happen? Start. Pick a date and stick to it. It could be in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, tomorrow. The famous line is, I'll do it next week. Why next week? Just start. Don't wait on it. Where's all this going to happen? I don't know. Is it going to happen at home? It might. Will you go to the grocery store, start buying all the food you need? Maybe. We come back to the pomegranate thing. Try something new that you don't normally do or don't normally eat. Excuse me. Let's talk about working out. Let's say part of that is you need to eat because of your workout. So now, where is this going to happen? Maybe again at home, in the gym, with me at my studio. You see what I did? Okay, anyway. And think about who you are, what you need, what kind of person you are, right? And more importantly, come back to the why. Why are you doing all of it? Why is it important to you? I'm going to pause on that just for a moment, just for one more moment on that. I want you to think, why? Why do it? Why do it at all? Why is it important? Now, I can't answer that for you, but what I will say is, you're important, you're worth it. Why not? So, what do you do when you discover your why, when you figure out why you're doing it in the first place? Now that you've decided what you want, visualize. See it. What does it look like? Once you get what you want, plan. Make the changes and adjustments part of your daily routine. Don't tip over the apple cart and make things all crazy for yourself. Add it into what it is you're already doing. Because if it's too challenging, if it's too difficult, you won't do it. And I know that. But I'm going to tell you so you know that. If you hesitate even a little bit, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. So find a way to integrate it into what it is that you are already doing. You might have to be a little uncomfortable, a little bit, because it is a change. It's an adjustment. But you got this. You can do this. Right? And you want to create a plan for yourself that is realistic and sustainable. Something that you can carry with you and do over time and over an extended period of time. All right? So choose one little task, one little thing to do. And you have to, again, be sure, at least 90% sure that you can accomplish the task. I'm going to say it again. Ask yourself, do I think I can do this? See if you answer yes. And then ask yourself, am I 90%, at least 90% sure that I can do this? And then see if you say yes. Now, if you say yes and yes, oh, you're good. Move forward. Make it happen. Start the magic. Now, if you're like, I don't know, I'm not sure, I'm not in the thing. Okay, back to the start again. Try to find another way. Okay? And that's not giving up. That's just being human and realistic about what you got going on in your life, because you're all different. I don't know what you have going on, but again, you got to ease it in to everything else that is happening. All right? So again, you might be a little uncomfortable, but find a way to integrate into what you got going on. All right? And once you got that idea going, execute. Give yourself a reasonable amount of time to practice your task. So you got to do it a little bit at a time. Give yourself a time frame, maybe 10 minutes a day, once a week, something that again, that you can do. You're 90% sure that you can get it done, and repeat it. Okay? Repeat it. Do it again. And do it again. And do it again. Again. All right. Now, once you get your task down, you're done. It's real. It's part of your routine. All right? You got that down. Now, choose another one. Choose another task. You got me? Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. All right? And that's everything. All right? So I'm going to leave it at that. As I promised, I didn't want to get too deep into this today. I just wanted you to think today. Think about where you are in your spectrum of reaching your goal for your health, your fitness, whatever the goal is, where you are. and how you want to get there and what it looks like for you. I just want you to think about that. All right. So I'm going to leave you with that. I would love you to stay. I'm going to do a little workout today. I'm going to do a band workout today. You know, there's always a workout after one of these little sessions. And then we'll go from there. Okay. So it's awesome to see you. I love you to stick around, do the workout. But if you need anything, you know where to find me, because all my information shows up on the screen. It's usually either on the bottom, it's on the top, it's somewhere here. So I will see you soon. It's always awesome to see you. And you know what? I'm also open to suggestions. So if you have questions about anything, if you need anything, you want to know something, you'd like me to talk about something, feel free, drop me a line. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. All right? So I'll see you soon. Oh, I'm Laura. This is Bear Fitness.